Welcome to Uping Stock Trend Prediction channel. So in this video, I will show you a great prediction that was proved to be successful, to be accurate within $1 of uncertainty in my last prediction for weekly high and weekly low, and also for Monday, that's an early week high. So all of them are less than $1 of uncertainty or error. That's about 0.4% of uncertainty compared to the about $250 of Tesla stock price. So this prediction was provided in video number 155 I uploaded to YouTube on September 23rd. That's a prediction for the current week. So today is September 29th, Friday. So that's the uploaded to YouTube last weekend, and that's a prediction for the current week. That's a week following the last video. So that's a prediction. So in that video, I predicted the Tesla stock price weekly high. I predicted it is 254 and the weekly low is 236. So I mentioned the weekly fluctuation is between $236 and $254. So you see this is a Tesla weekly chart, and this vertical bar is the actual fluctuation of the whole week. So you see it open here, and there's a weekly low is exactly at $235 at this price, and the weekly high is at this price, exactly touch this yellow trend line, and this weekly high exactly touch this yellow trend line. That's what I predicted. The actual weekly high is $254.2, and it's just $0.2 higher than what I predicted, $254. So the accuracy is just a 0.4% error. That's 0.4% of uncertainty within $1 of uncertainty. And even for the Tesla daily chart, this is this Friday, today, and Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday, I predicted the early week I predicted is about $238, and the weekly early week high is $248 at this price, and the actual Monday high is $247 at this price, $247. So it's still just $1 of a difference between the actual Monday high and what I predicted early week high. So all these kind of prediction are perfectly accurate. I mean, compared to the about $250 of stock price, $1 of a difference or uncertainty, that's is very high accuracy, because that happened a few days earlier, because that predicted before even this week started. So this is based on the prediction model. So that means I can make this kind of a prediction based on the tip of these trend lines and based on the historic data. So before even a new week start, before I received the new data of for the next week. So that means it's totally based on the historic data. And we have another model that's based on the, for example, Blash model. That's a sell high buy low model. So this model is more accurate than the prediction model, because this kind of trend lines will be generated after the opening, after we receive the first data point of opening price for the current time frame. So for example, when this week is open here, after this first data point is received, after we know the opening price of each time frame. For example, weekly chart, daily chart, or even 60 minutes chart for any time frame. So all these trend lines are predicted, are generated. So that means all these tips of the trend lines are already known. So when the stock price fluctuates between this band, you already know the target low and the target high are already generated. So these tips of the trend lines are typically are not changed. So it may have slightly a minor, very minor, slightly adjustment, automatic adjustment if the stock price have a very strong momentum when approaching this yellow trend line or blue trend line. So when it approaches this trend lines with strong momentum, and then this tips of the price tips may be slightly adjusted based on the momentum at that moment. So, but generally it typically are not changed. So when the first data point is received, it open here, then you already know this kind of tips of the target high and the target low of the based on these trend lines, so, and also based on this kind of a trend. So you will get a very good idea about what the high and low will be for each time frame. So for example, this is the Tesla weekly chart, this is the Tesla daily chart, and you see for each daily chart, for each day's data or each week's data, you see based on what has been proved and in the past. So you will know all these kind of prediction are very accurate for this model. So because these trend lines are automatically generated after you only receive the first data point, so that means all these all these predicted price are predicted price for the current time frame. So it's still a prediction model, but it's just predicted based on the current time frame. It's not like that prediction model. That prediction model can be predicted and generated even before that time frame start. So this is just based on the current time frame. So it's a predicted price, and you see based on all these weeks during the past historic data, it confirmed, it proved that all these kind of predictions or trend lines are very good, very well. So when it opened here, and then the most adjacent time trend lines are the target high and the target low, and you see all this kind of high and low reaches a certain time trend line. So all this kind of weekly chart or daily chart, even monthly chart or 60 minutes chart are matched very well with this kind of trend lines. And these trend lines, you know, these trend lines are predicted trend lines. Even just after the first data point is received for the current time frame. And this model algorithm can be used for any stocks you choose. So right now I typically just use Tesla stock price to give an example. So if you, for example, if you change to any time any stocks, for example NVDA, and you see all these trend lines captures all those kind of predicted high and low for the actual fluctuation. You see it matches very well. You see it touches this trend line and started to change direction, started to have a reversal of in price. And this is a weekly chart, and this is a weekly chart, and you see all this kind of high and low matches time trend lines very well. And this is a daily chart, and the daily chart, you can see this model is more precise, more accurate than that prediction model. And you see this is only have 4 trend lines. So typically this kind of 2 blue trend lines typically represent the relatively low price range, and this high yellow trend lines typically represent the relatively high price range. So you see all these kind of trend lines captures those kind of high and low very well. And if I change it to another stock, for example Home Depot HD, and you see this weekly chart also matches very well. This trend lines matches this kind of high and low capture. Basically that's predicted, the high and low predicted very well. So that means if you have this kind of trend lines, that will give you more confidence in doing the trade, and because you know what will be the target high and the target low. That's basically the best estimated high and low, and with a very high probability and a very high accuracy. So you can see all this, and this it may, for example, this time frame, this day, it may exceed it a little bit, but you know, at that moment probably many people are excited, and then it overbuy a little bit, so it price increase a little bit, but you know, even though it increased a little bit, but it will finally, it will still go down and go down, you know. It's just exceeded with a little bit, and this one dropped a little bit more, probably at that time. So many people, when it dropped to this price, many people are nervous and then oversold the stocks. Also the stock price dropped a little bit further, but even though when it deviated from this trend line a little bit bigger, and then it will still come back and still started to increase, have a reversal. So that's just some exceptional case. Typically most of the cases, I think probably maybe 98% or 95% of the cases capture this kind of high and low very well, with just several or a few exceptional range exception breakthrough, break down a little bit, and this one is break down a little bit because probably many people are so nervous and oversold, but finally it will still go down, even though this didn't increase a lot this day, but the next day you see it open here and dropped a little bit more, but then dropped down to this blue trend line, but you see this is two more trend lines higher, so that means it is in a higher band. So it opened also close to this blue trend line, so this bar this day will still increase to this yellow trend line, and then if it, because it once dropped to this very low price and also increase to this higher trend line, higher price, so it means it have a stronger increasing momentum, and then the next day, next 2 or 3 days, it increased even more, so it have a very good increase and jumped out. So that means it dropped down to this low price, and then finally it will increase back to this high price, much higher price, and this trend lines capture all this kind of a trend. You see this is in a very good increasing trend and capture this kind of high and low very well. So you know this trend lines, these tips are predicted price, because these trend lines are automatically generated after this first data point opening price is received. So okay, so many people will be interested in what will happen for the next week. So because this model is very precise, but this model will need the first data point for the current time frame. So that means this trend lines will be generated after the first data point is received for the next week. So I have to use that prediction model to provide the best estimated prediction for the next week, because next week has not started yet. So I have to do the prediction, best estimate prediction based on the historic data. That's what happened already happened for the current week or the previous week's data. So let's go to the prediction model. So this prediction model, so that means each tips of these trend lines are the predicted price for the next week or the next time frame, depend on what time frame you choose. For example, if this is a Tesla weekly chart, and then these tips of the trend lines are the predicted target high and target low for the next week, and this week, current week, it closed here. So the next week, the predicted fluctuation for the next week is between these two bands for the highest probability. So the fluctuation for the next week is around between $238, and if it have a very strong momentum, it may increase to $255, depends. So it may maybe just increase to this a little bit low, higher than this 250 or 251, depends on if it has a very strong in momentum. So very high probability the fluctuation range is between this $238 and $255. So it may, when it drops to this $238, it may have a little bit more strong decreasing momentum. It may drop a little bit further, may drop it down to $233. So this is a predicted weekly fluctuation, and so for early week, because this is a daily chart, so these tips of the trend lines will give you a best estimate the target high and target low for the early next week, for example Monday, and this closed around this, between this yellow trend line. Early next week, this price $250. This price is a kind of a very important threshold. So if it opened below this, about $248.7. So if it dropped below this, it may still goes down to $245. So it may still, if it's above this yellow trend line, it will still have a strong increasing momentum. It may still fluctuate among this yellow trend line range. So it may push it up to $253. It depends on, very likely it may just stop here around $253. If it have a very strong momentum, it may increase it to this $255, but general range for this early Monday is about $245 and $253. If you are interested in this kind of evaluation and analysis, you are welcome to subscribe Uping Stock Trend Prediction channel or watch more video in YouTube.